Boker Tov. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are, if you're here with us in the chapel, you are holding in your hands a copy of Mishkan HaNefesh, our brand new High Holy Day prayer book that we'll be using for the first time this year. If you're joining us online, it looks like this. And we've decided as a clergy team to use these books in the Shabbatot, in the Shabbats throughout the month of Elul, the preparatory month that leads us up into the High Holy Days, since this is a new book, as a chance for us to get to know the new Machzor. So last night for Shabbat evening, was the very first time we used them, and this morning will be our first Shabbat morning. What I will say as we embark upon this service out of this prayer book is that this book is not designed to be used for a regular old Shabbat service, right? This is a Rosh Hashanah prayer book. In fact, there are 2 volumes. So the Yom Kippur volume is silver and it's significant. It is very large in comparison to this volume. But we will take a creative approach with how we use the book today in order to be able to keep our service very much still in the spirit of Shabbat while getting to know this book, which means that there perhaps will be a few times during the service where we skip, 10 pages, or in the case of the Amidah, which we'll talk about a little bit when we get there, in the middle of a prayer, one single prayer, we might need to skip 10 pages, but we will work through it together. All right, so this should be an exciting Shabbat adventure for all of us. Okay, here we go. We'll begin on page 110, which I will tell you, top secret, it's not a secret at all. That is how we will begin on Rosh Hashanah morning as well, here on page 110. Yai la 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 yai la 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 yai la la yai la 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 yai la 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 yai la 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 yai la la yai la 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 Atovu Ohalecha Yaakov Mishkenotecha Yisrael Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Yai la la Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Vani berov chastecha avo betecha eshtachave el heichal kodeshecha be'yiratecha Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Yai la la Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Yai la la Yai la 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 Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha u'mekom mishkan kevodecha eshtachave vani eshtachave ve'echra evrecha lifnei Adonai osi Yai la 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 Yai la 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 Yai Elohim, berov chasdecha, aneni be'emet yishecha. So that melody, which is a folk tune, and it appears published just with the words matavu and the nigun, the refrain, without words, the melody, which I typically will offer all of the Hebrew with it. I will frequently open the service in this chapel using that melody because I think it is a good melody for waking up. Right? You can start in a way that is very calm and relaxed and eventually come to a place of being more present with a little bit of a brighter sensibility to it. I think it brings us from wherever we were outside into a more gathered place, as hopefully we are now. And I certainly needed some gathering. Now, what I will say about my experience just in that moment of being like, oh gosh, where are the words I've sung 100,000 times and why can't I see them? Part of that is when we get to know something as well as a siddur or a machzor, when we come back to it time and time again, we have expectations of things that we might not even be aware of, like the way the words scan. What do I mean by that? Like what words are on what line, and what words are on the next line, and what words are on the line after that. So you might find, as I just did, that there are little changes that you would think wouldn't impact the way that you experience your prayers or the prayer book that actually do. Because if you're used to looking down and seeing the words laid out a certain way and suddenly they're not, it could be a little bit disorienting. And that is exactly the reason why we're going to spend time for an entire month, those of us who are invested in this process of preparing for the High Holy Days, getting to know it a little bit better. Okay, so again, as I said, this will be a wild ride. Here we go. Let's continue on the next page, page 112. So a blessing for the study of Torah. Let's read together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Our God, eternal, let us taste the sweetness of your Torah's words, and let them give pleasure to your people, the house of Israel, so that we, our children, and all the generations of Israel to come shall know your name and study your Torah for its own sake. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. And then if we turn over to page 119, what you'll see if you look at the pages as we move towards 119, is that the editors of this book have given us a variety of study texts from all different parts of Jewish history throughout time. Because of course, in Judaism, we don't say a blessing without an action to fulfill that blessing. So we've just said the blessing for the study of Torah. And the text I'd love for us to take just a moment to sit with is on the top of page 119. This text is attributed to Rabbi Simcha of Bonem. Everyone must have two pockets. In the right pocket, one should place the words, "For my sake was the world created." And in the left, "I am but dust and ashes." Okay. Sometimes it's translated a little differently. The world was created for me, rather than for my sake was the world created. On the one hand, the world was created for me. On the other hand, I am but dust and ashes. So what does that mean? I'm actually asking.
We're here for as long as we're here.
Okay, what does that mean? Can you say more?
I mean, we're here on this planet, and it is for us to do, right, make do God's will, bring whatever, right, the version of God, and then eventually that ends, and it was all for, we are actually just a small piece of the big picture.
So our lives are finite. We have a beginning and an end that which speaks to this concept of dust and ashes. And that during the time in which we get to inhabit this earth, we have the ability to make it a better place, perhaps. Anyone else? How do you understand this notion of two texts? The world was created for me on the one hand, on the other hand, I am dust and ashes.
Balance.
Say more, please.
Between living to the fullest and applying, oneself to the course of life, and understanding that it's temporal and that there's respect in dust and ashes, that there's you're still part of the earth that is much larger than you, as opposed to the world was created for me.
A sense that we are part of something much greater.
To me, part of it means humility. The world was created for me. Maybe not just for you, because in the end, humble us a little bit before God.
So it's a little bit humbling. Anybody else? Have there been times in your life when you needed to know that the world was made for you? Maybe that one's rhetorical. Okay. Have there been times in your life where it was really important to know that you are special and that you have a part to play? And then when are some other times where you take a step back and say, oh my gosh, I'm just a human being on this whole planet filled with living beings. I'm just one of the many. And somewhere over the course of our lives, we need both. We need both. And this text teaches us to hold on, right? Like it doesn't say know this and know that. It says put it in your pocket. Put this idea in your pocket and this idea in your pocket and carry it with you, because both matter, and you need both to suffer, to grow through the nicks and bruises and bumps that we all experience in life, but also to remember the part that you have to play as a much greater whole. So this book is filled with little gems. And as we pray through this book on Shabbat this month, and also in the holidays, we hope very much that you take time to read the words on these pages. They are very enriching. We turn to the next page and offer gratitude for our bodies. Reading together. Blessed are you, Holy One, who has formed the human body with wisdom, an intricate network of channels, vessels, and openings. This wondrous structure and the flow of life within us allows us to serve you and give thanks. Let us cherish this life of flesh and blood, honor it as God's creation. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei chol basar, umafli la'asot. On the next page, 122, we have the words of Elohai Neshama, our prayer for our souls. We've begun introducing a new melody for Elohai Neshama just over the past few weeks, and our B'nai Mitzvah students will help lead us in this in Shabbat, starting later on in the fall. So we're going to offer this particular melody, which is new. And as we move through the melody, I ask you to consider what are the ways in which this particular melody might help you feel a sense of your own soul. Does it? Does it not? And we'll see how it lands. Here we go. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. We're going to do that again. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Ata virata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta, nefachta bi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. Ve'ata mishamera, ve'ata mishamera, ve'ata mishamera, mishamera bikirbi. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama. Shenatatabi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. We turn to page 125. And another of the liturgical elements that we'll see in this book that we as a congregation have not had for quite a while, because of the way in which we use Mishkan Tefillah on Shabbat, is a responsive reading. So here we have a responsive reading. So I will take leadership of the lines that are outdented and invite you to read the indented lines in this prayer for gratitude. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of all time and space. We call you Pokeach Ivrim, the opener of blind eyes.
Help us to see the world in a new light.
We call you Malbish Arumim, the dresser of those without clothing.
Help us to put on the garments of health.
We call you Matir Asurim, the freer of captives.
Help us to break free of the bonds that keep us bound to ourselves.
We call you Zokef Kifufim, the straightener of bent backs.
Help us to find the power to stand upright and proud.
We call you Hamechin Mitzade Gaver, the steadiness in our steps.
Help us to understand our journey evermore.
We call you Hanotain Laya'ef Koach, the source of strength for the weary.
Help us to be strong.
Amen. On page 131, This next section of the service is called Psuke de Zimra, or a whole section that is meant to be sung and filled with psalms and songs. And the editors of this Rosh Hashanah Machzor have added to Psuke de Zimra 2 texts that don't typically appear in this section. One is Psalm 27 on the bottom half of the page. Achat Sha'alti, the second paragraph of Hebrew, is considered the psalm for the month of Elul. So to have one psalm dedicated for an entire month is quite a statement. And it is as if it is a type of mantra, right? A reminder, a touchstone text that you come back to over and over again as you move through the month. Just one thing I have asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and to gaze in delight at God's temple. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 lai. Ultimate Adonai, Ota Avakesh. Achat ultimate Adonai, Ota Avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai, Kol yemei chayai, lachazot benoam Adonai, ulevaker behechalo. Lachazot benoam Adonai, ulevaker behechalo. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, lai. Ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 ai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, lai. Page 142. Please rise for Baruch Hu. Yeah, lai, 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 yeah, lai, 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 yeah, lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach, le'olam va'ed. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, lai. And we continue on that same page. And notice, as we are about to offer the words of Yotzer, or that there's a specific text, it is in a bold, sort of fuzzy looking print that is just for the High Holy Days, and we're going to skip any insertions that you see like that. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz veladarim aleha v'rachamim. Uv tuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. On page 144, 5 lines down. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechokma asita, mal'a ha'aretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'ore or she'asita yifa'arucha selah. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh chulanu mehera le'oro, baruch ata Adonai, yotzer hameorot. And on the very next page, the facing page, 145, we'll read together this poem by Mary Oliver. Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of the tulips and the nodding morning glories and into the windows of even the miserable and the crotchety. Best preacher that ever was, dear star that just happens to be where you are in the universe, to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness and kindness. Shema, page 150. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha uvchol nafshecha uvchol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, vishivtecha bevetecha, uvlechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam, al mezuzot beitecha uvishe'arecha lema antizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 165. Together, they went forth from Egypt on a single night, but next time the miracle will be different. Once, two sages were walking very early in the valley, and they saw the light of the morning star. Said one to the other, "This is how the redemption will be. The dawn breaks with a single ray of light, and bit by bit the sky is illumined, until morning comes and the darkness is gone. So the redemption will occur little by little, growing steadily and gradually until the world is full of light." Do not wait for a miracle or the sudden transformation of the world. Bring the day closer step by step with every act of courage, of kindness, of healing and repair. Do not be discouraged by the darkness. Lift up every spark you can and watch the horizon for the coming of dawn. Look closely, it has already begun. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot Nora tehilot tosefele. Shira chadasha shibechu geulim l'shimcha osefat hayom. Yachad kulam hodu vehimlichu ve'ameru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai yai lai lai. Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 lai. On the next page, 166, we have the beginning of our Amidah. And the Amidah is the central part of our worship, and it is the place in the service, whatever the day, whatever the holiday, whatever time of year it is, that has the greatest number of modifications to let you know where you are in space and time. Okay, the Amidah looks a certain way on a Tuesday, it looks a different way on a Shabbat, it looks a different way on Passover, and it looks quite significantly different on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. So we're going to offer our Shabbat prayers from a series of pages that are designed for Rosh Hashanah. The Amidah on Shabbat has 7 blessings. It is typically our custom that we'll offer 3 or maybe 4 of those blessings out loud, and then continue our prayers in silence. And that is exactly what we're going to do today. The first blessing, Avot V'Imahot, where we offer awareness for being a part of generations of people, right? For the understanding that God has been present throughout generations and that we are part of the story of many generations. And the second prayer, Givurot, where we acknowledge God's might and strength. Both of those you'll see specific High Holy Day insertions. We're going to skip those. And then the third prayer, Kiddushat Hayom, Kiddushat Hashem rather, which acknowledges God's holiness, is very, very, very different on Rosh Hashanah. So we're actually going to begin on one page, and then you're actually not going to see the end blessing. All right, you're going to have to go with me, and the words will not be there. It is not a mistake. You are not lost, because the words at the end blessing are 10, 15 pages into the future. Okay, so we begin together to journey into our Amidah. Please rise. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la ya la ya la Adonai Sepatai Tiftach Ufi Yadi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol atara le'oshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Tomech nofelim verofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'akir hurot, umidom melach, melech mimi tu mechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Page 184. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש קדוש קדוש, אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ, כבודו, אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מה אדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. Hallelujah. לדור ודור נגיד קודמך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue in silence. Either be seated or seated when your prayers are concluded. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom b'rama, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom b'roma, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu, Vehishakahu, Lahar Kosho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu, Vehishakahu, Lahar Kosho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romimu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romimu. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu Vehishakahu Lehar Kocho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu Vehishakahu Lehar Kocho. It is perhaps inefficient that I asked you to be seated, because anyone who would like to come look at the Torah, as we offer just a taste of this week's Parsha, you're very much invited to do so. The blessings for the reading of Torah are on page 230. See where we are. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna need some help. So I would love for any adults who would love to participate and assist in this aliyah. We're going to join together in the aliyah to the Torah. And again, if you would like to see what this looks like, you are very welcome to actually come all the way up, but also stay where you are if that's where you're at today. That is just fine. So this week's Torah portion is Shoftim. I'm going to read just the first 3 verses of this week's Torah portion, and then I'll give you a translation at the end. Let's see, while this is only 3 sentences, there's a very, 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 very famous quote that you will hear in this Hebrew, and perhaps you will be able to pick it out, okay? Perhaps. We'll join together in the blessing. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah. Amen. Shofetim v'shoterim titen lecha b'chol she'arecha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha lishvatecha, v'shaftu et ha'am mishpat tzedek, lo tatem mishpat, lo takir fahim, v'lo tikach shochad, ki ha-shochad ye'aver einei chachamim, v'salev divrei tzadikim. Tzedek, tzedek tirdov, lema'an tichye, v'rasha et haaretz, asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So, did anybody succeed in my treasure hunt of Torah verses? Okay, the third sentence begins, Tzedek, tzedek, tirdov. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. It's in this week's Torah portion. Okay, so who famously had this sentence in their office? Ruth Bader Ginsburg is exactly right. So this is a touchstone text for so many who connect to Judaism's connection to the pursuit of justice and righteousness. And here it is in our Torah portion this very week. So the three verses translate, you shall appoint magistrates and officials for your tribes in all the settlements that Adonai your God is giving to you, and they shall govern the people with due justice. All right, so if you're going to have leaders, their job is to govern the people with due justice. You shall not judge unfairly. You shall not show partiality. You shall not take bribes, for bribes blind the eyes of the discerning and upset the plea of the just. Justice, justice, you shall pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that Adonai your God is giving to you. I offer no commentary other than to consider the ways in which this, it's interesting because I don't think most of this is circumstantial. I think, there's great wisdom. This is our most beautiful Torah and also the most difficult to dress, but we're good now. Consider the proximity to the High Holy Days where we read these ideas. As we are moving ourselves spiritually and, organizationally even planning to be present, trying, we hope, to make time to prepare ourselves to be present mentally and spiritually during the High Holy Day season. Consider the proximity of those verses to that work. And what might that tell you in your own world or life? Where does justice sit in your own growth, in the own person that you are becoming? All right. We're going to offer a Mishaberach, a prayer for those who are in need of healing, whether that be of mind, of body, or of spirit, whether that is ourself or our neighbor or our loved one. The words of Mishaberach are on the bottom of page 245. If you have names that you'd like to share out loud for healing, I invite you to do so now. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim, blessed are you, Adonai, who helps to bring healing. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBeracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, wisdom, and to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor haberacha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Please rise as we return the Torah to the Ark. We will continue with the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 286 in just a moment. Aleinu L'Shabeach La'adon HaKol La'ateit Gidula Liotzer Bereshit Shelo Asanu Kegoyei Ha'aratzot Velo Samanu Kemishpechot Ha'adama Shelo Sam Chelkeinu Kahem Vevor Aleinu Kechol Hamonam Va'anachnu Koreim Umishtachavim Umodim Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On the top of page 289. May the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your dominion be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. Please be seated. Our Mourner's Kaddish is on page 292. These words are written in Aramaic. Does anybody know why? Why are they in Aramaic? They're not Hebrew.
Because of the occupation of Israel back centuries ago.
But why did they choose this? Why not choose
It
Hebrew?
was a more common language.
Because it was the more common language. Okay, so this was the vernacular. This was the spoken language at the time that this prayer was written. And the authors, like the intention was that this was a prayer everyone understood. This is the equivalent to us saying a prayer in English, right? And it's not actually about death at all, which perhaps you know. It is all words of praise to God. And in that moment in time, it was meant to be, an affirmation of faith, and something that each and every individual who said these words could understand fully. Of course, we are even farther removed as contemporary Americans from Aramaic than Hebrew in most cases. So we don't understand naturally these words when we say them. Yet they are probably the most widely known after the Shema, I would say, words from our prayer books. The editors here have made a change. This is all by way of saying, here are these very comforting, repetitive, musical, rhythmic words that we look to for comfort. And in fact, there's a change at the end. This is your heads up. Let's see if they offer yes, they do. So at the bottom of page 293, you'll see the addition of the words, and all who dwell on the earth. As the high holy days encompass I can't speak today, universalistic themes, this contemporary addition to the Kaddish extends our prayer for peace for all human beings. So in the final paragraph, the Oseh Shalom paragraph, which we typically sing after we complete the prayer, has an extra phrase. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru ameh. Right? It is duly pointed out to you as we get there. And I think that changes like this in something that is so central to our Jewish identity, it takes a little stretching. And intellectually, we know that this concept of universality and expanding those for whom we pray for peace is good. But in our kitschkis of, well, that's not how the Mourner's Kaddish goes, it might, there's a dance that has to be done. So we take time to recall those who are being mourned in our congregation by members of our congregational family. During the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of death, we remember Audrey Claire Azarsky, Robert Bob Fink, Judith Francis, Andrew Karp, Lisa Cursius, Ronald Maniloff, Esther Milgram, Rabbi Stanley Skolnick, and Scott Michael Turner. At the yahrzeit, the anniversary of their death, we remember Saul Aberman, Sterling Beaver, Elias Behar, William Bernard, Sidney Blumenau, Lillian Borgenecht, Harry Burke, Morris Buxbaum, Dustin Timothy Chapman, Sally Corzin, Leah Lillian Davis, Sarah Dick, George Dorsey, Marion Miller Dunn, Harriet P. Epstein, Dora Garfinkel, Max Gelbard, Seymour Ginsburg, Beryl Golden, Gail Guzik, Irving Handelsman, Robert Helling, Richard Herskowitz, Noah Hesberg, A.J. Hirsch, Jack Hollins, Esther Hurwitz, Dorothy Katz, Helen Koslow, Sarah Eisenberg Krohn, Nat Labovich, Helen Lazar, Philip Paul Levin, Josephine Lewis, Joseph Lieberman, Milton Lindner, Annabelle Lindner, Max Mandel, Edward Menaker, Murray Palanker, David Parton, Erwin Pepper, Edith Raphael, Manya Richels, Gerald Rosenblum, Jenny Rosenfield, Lena Rosenfield, Pauline Schwartz, Albert Emil Seelbinder, Shirley Siegel, Lillian Strauss, Jeanette Strauss, Bert Streifer, Barney Timmons, Gordon L. Walls, Sarah M. Weiner, and Michael Wolf. Are there any other people that we're remembering for a yahrzeit? We hold the memories of these and those we love in our hearts as we rise as a congregational family to offer the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divarach hirutei, be'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'b'yomechon, u'b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'b'zman kariv imru ameh. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu la'elam min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imiru. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for being here. For leaving the. Goodbye, everyone. Shabbat shalom.